What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Wuthering Waves video. Alright guys, we're going to be doing a first showcase and we're going to focus on none other than the MC. That's right, the Rover, who they've done a pretty big rehaul and have made him a very impactful, him or her, depending what you go with. I went with a he. Impactful character for all free-to-play players. So we're going to go top to bottom, everything the Rover is, what they do, and how you can utilize them best, and what they play, what role they play in your team, and why they're actually going to be probably the premier and prominent free-to-play unit in this game for quite some time. So let's talk all about the Rover and what makes this unit very special. So first off, let's talk a little bit about the character themselves. So again, you can be a female or a male. I chose the male version by accident, by the way, but first thing you want to note is eventually when you get to a point in the story, you do start off initially with Spectro Spec, which is going to be the element. So Spectral Element is what you're going to start with. And then eventually when you reach a certain point in the story, you will also unlock the Havoc spec, which is a crazy Havoc DPS spec as well too. So we're going to talk a little bit about both of these and tell you guys which works best for what scenarios, okay? So one thing you will note about the MC here is the fact that the Rover plays many different roles. Can play a sub DPS, can play a main DPS, can play a support. Mostly though, DPS and sub DPS are going to be the main roles that you will be playing. So let's talk a little bit about the weapons. When you initially start the game, you're going to have the option to choose a 4-star weapon. The best weapon, in my opinion, for him is either going to be the attack with the energy regen is not a very good option. I put that on dungeon. This is going to be the best weapon for him. The Commando of Conviction weapon, the 4-star, that's the one you probably want to set for him as you want to make him your main DPS, if you plan to make him your main DPS. So make sure that you do choose that sword right there, Commando of Conviction. Now, my main current DPS is dungeon, but I was running it on him for quite some time. Now, if you go with the 5-star weapon, the best 5-star choice weapon you're going to have is going to be as follows. Let me go to the convene here, go to the weapon one, and I'll show you guys right here. It is going to be the, here it is, Emerald of Genesis. So this weapon is the choice that you want to go with if you plan to make him and go for a 5-star weapon. You want to get that crit rate and attack going as much as you possibly can, including the Stormy Resolution rank 1 skill for him as well too. Okay, so that is going to be the best 5-star weapon for him. All right, let's go on to the next thing regarding this character, and that is going to be the echoes. Now, if you're going to build him Spectral build, you definitely want to get the full Celestial Light set here, which is going to give you guys the Spectral Damage Plus. And then if you get the 5P set, upon casting your intro skill, Spectral Damage is increased. So intro skill is pretty straightforward. Jumps in, does an attack with spectral damage, and then with that being said, your 5 stars here will push more damage for you with your spectral damage increased. Right now, for me personally, I don't have enough of that yet in order to build it. I have tested it on other people's accounts, and it is definitely the way to go, guys. You want to put as much spectral damage out there as you can when you build them this way. Now, if you decide to go Havoc spec, you want to go the opposite direction, right? You actually want to go ahead and get the Sonata effect here, which gives you Havoc damage plus, and upon using a basic or heavy attack, you also increase your Havoc damage as well too. So those are going to be your two best sets. Main things to focus on: crit damage, crit rate, attack, Spectral or Havoc. Those are going to be the main things you want to put on him for stats, and you want to fill as much of the crit damage and crit as you can first, and then attack, and then Spectral or the Havoc damage as your primary or other stats that you want to focus on. Okay, so make sure you are farming the proper echoes and getting those in there. Now, moving on to the next part here, and instead of going over every single skill, which will take forever, I'm just going to show you guys some actual gameplay with these skills and show you how they work in actual combat. So the first thing we're going to do, guys, is go to our guidebook, and remember, you can all do this as well too. It's an easy form of learning how to use your characters, and that is going through the skill training. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go over the Spectral skill right here, and this will show you guys how the skills work and how to utilize them best. And the game does a great job with showing you how to use both sets, the Spectral as well as the Havoc set. Okay, so let's go with this one first. So basic attacks, 1, 2, 3, 4. You guys can see that fourth attack right there. The third attack, sorry, is a multi-attack. Okay, so there you guys go. A couple different Spectral attacks. Now if you jump, mid-air attack, boom, right there. Okay, that'll build up some more. Here, we're gonna go Resonance. There you go, 1, 2, and then after tune. Okay, so that's your heavy attack going into 2 basic attacks. Now the skill here, this is the basic skill. Now if you build up your Resonance, there you guys see that spinning blade, and then jump into that attack right there. So Resonance skill, that spinning blade is really, really powerful. And then this is your ultimate. Okay, so the ultimate is what you really want to push as much as you possibly can, especially with the AoE that it does. So a couple things to note here. As you are building your diminutive sound, you guys can see the skill is going up. There's a heavy attack. You can jump into mid-airs, and then look at that right there. That right there is very, very powerful. Okay, so you want to make sure you do that spinning attack as much as you possibly can. and then push out all of your main DPS skills to do as much spectral damage as possible. And again, you want to build your ultimate quickly. Now, you don't want to keep him in the battle for too long, especially if you have other main DPS. He's going to serve to be an ultimate damage dealer right there with a couple extra attacks. And as you get his advancements, he's going to provide you a lot more utility, okay? So there is the simple spectral version of that fight. Now let's go into the Havoc version, okay? You guys can see what the Havoc version looks like. All right, guys, here we go. Going into the Havoc version. Now, this is the mode that I enjoy more when it comes down to DPS, because I find it way more fun, and I find the damage difference is pretty huge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You guys can see he does 5 different attacks right there, basic attacks, and I love the wing animation as well. Here's the mid-air attack right there. And then we have the hold button here. Very similar combo setup, but you actually stay mid-air with this version instead. We got the skill here, right? Resonance skill right there. And then we have the fort circuit here. Hold this down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And look at this. He gets a scythe now instead. And you guys can see a little bit more AoE attack. A little slower in attacking, but overall much larger range. And here's another heavy attack here called Dark Surge. There it is. And now using the skill again. More damage right there as soon as you have more of that Dark Surge going. And this is the ultimate now. This ultimate actually does more, I find, than the spectral one, which is really, really cool right there. And that's the completion right there. So remember, you guys can build this up, switch over into the ultimate mode right there, get yourself a scythe going, do a hell of a lot more damage with this. And at the same time, you can stay actually mid-air fairly long with this version as well too, right? See right there, like he just stays up in the air for longer. Do some air combos, and there's just like the combinations, the skills, the damage is much higher at the Havoc section. So if you are looking for a better DPS version of this character, which now you have both versions, a Spectral and Havoc, you can definitely focus on getting yourself a unit. Now, especially if you don't pull like units like Dungeon, and you don't have a Havoc unit sitting around, the MC fills that gap that was desperately needed originally, especially because there weren't very many Spectral units to go with him. But now that you have a good Havoc version of him, you can, or her, you can definitely switch over and do this version instead, right? So there you guys go. That is the combination you want to use for Havoc. Now let's talk about the advancement. All right, guys, here we go. The Resonance Chain, aka I call them advancements. They're called Resonance Chain. So in this case, getting dupes for this character is very straightforward. You just play the game. You play the game, you collect caskets, you explore, you do the quest, and you will be able to get yourself the dupes that you need in order to Resonance Change this character further. Now we're going to start off with the Havoc version first. So here's what the first one does. Resonance skill damage bonus is increased by 30%. Pretty straightforward. You just do more damage with your Resonance skill bonus, right? So that's straightforward there. Reset Resonance skills cooldown when Rover enters the Dark Surge state by casting Heavy Attack Devastation. So all your skills cool down as soon as you do your Heavy Attack, which obviously lets you put out more damage. So pretty straightforward there as well too. The Resonance Chain 3 is in the Dark Surge state. Basic attack restores HP equal to 10% of total HP lost on hit. So this is a good lifesteal, especially because you lose stamina when you are attacking. So it becomes very dungeon-like. But in this case, you actually do recover some HP at the A3 level. The A4 level, Annihilating Silence, Heavy Attack Devastation, and Resonance Liberation Deadening Abyss reduce enemies' Havoc resistance by 10% for 20 seconds. So put him with another Havoc unit like Dungeon, all of a sudden now he becomes a sub DPS and supporter, making her even hit harder, and other Havoc units that come down the pipe, right? In the Dark Surge state, Basic Attack V or 5 deals an additional Havoc damage equal to 50% of Basic Attack V's damage, so double the, or half more damage than what was originally expected. And then the last one in Dark Surge state recovers Rover crit increase by 25%. That's right, an insane amount of increase. So you definitely want to get these guys to max out the amount of damage you do, plus support for other units like Dungeon that you plan to use as a Havoc setup. Okay, so if you look at the Spectral, it does work a little bit differently. So let's go through this one as well, and we'll end the video covering this last part. Okay, all right, let's go here. There you guys go. So A1. Rover's crit increases by 15% for 7 seconds when he casts Resonance skill, the Slash or the Spin. So if you don't have any diminutive sounds, you cast the Slash, he'll get 15% more crit, which is fantastic for 7 seconds. Or if you have diminutive sound, he'll do Resonating Spin, and you'll get it either way, okay? Going to A2, Rover's spectral damage is increased by 20%. Flat increase in damage. Can't go wrong with that. It's fantastic. A3, Rover's energy regen is increased by 20%. So more energy, obviously, the more damage you can do, the more skills you can pull off. When casting Resonance Liberation, Echoing Resonance, Rover continuously restores HP for all teammates up to 20% of his attack for 5 seconds, which is fantastic. Every 5 seconds, sorry. Every second for 5 seconds, or for 5 full seconds. So he becomes a little bit more of a support and a healer now to provide you guys a little bit more survivability. Rover's Resonance Liberation damage, the ultimate, is increased by 40%. And then lastly, Resonating Slashes and Resonating Spin reduces the target's spectral damage resistance by 10% on hit for 20 seconds. The only other person I can really think that would benefit off of this would be Verena, but she's not a main DPS, and Sanhao, but again, depends if you use her or not, right? So Spectral, Havoc, both fantastic setups, very easy to dupe, and again, the Rover is the ultimate character. So ultimately, guys, you should be building this character and using him as a free-to-play player because he's going to take you very, very far in this game. Not somebody you want to sleep on just because of the MC. Most MCs in games are forgettable. In this case, he is not, or she is not. Definitely build, use both sets, play around, and I promise you guys, you won't be disappointed with the results. All right, guys, it's Payne. If you have any comments or questions, let me know. See you guys in the next one. Take care.